Welcome, welcome to the ladies' room, where real men talk and truth go boom. Good morning, good morning. If your man acting up or your woman losing she mind, right we don't hide till we inside, 'cause the ladies' room go set it right. Welcome, welcome to the ladies' room, where real men talk and truth go boom. Good morning, good morning. If your man acting up or your woman losing she mind, right we don't hide till we inside, 'cause the ladies' room go set it right.
No play, one day you'll go pay the price. Right now, I'm ready to live me life. Oh yeah, Master to pedal, tell me what I ain't going to. Close my eyes and noise it gone away. I ain't doing good, but that was for the day. Every day is same thing, my life's on replay. Before I self-destruct, I need to go somewhere. I want for your bed up with the stress. Oh, it is only walking me face. I'm tired, I just want to go jump.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to the room, ladies' room for today, Wednesday, August 26th. Final Wednesday in the month of August, so of course we gotta make it count, yeah? We are definitely up and pumping again. Thank you so very much to our friends at St. Augustine Medical Services, Western Union, and Land Store. Don't forget, Land Store, they're part of the VAT-free shopping, so take advantage of that, yeah? Come and get your leather pieces, wallets, purses, bags, belts, so much more at Land Store. Remember that free day, the 8th, starting from the 28th. And again, I hope that employers will guess that early thing, right? So we can organize, take advantage. Nonetheless, we are getting ready for back to school, getting ready for Notting Hill Carnival. Those of you making your way over to the UK, be part of that. Hope you enjoy the bus and, of course, represent for the 473. Thank you so much, everybody, for powering up, for tuning in. Thank you so much for the messages. Little words of encouragement ever so often helps to keep the cup filled, right? Anyways, if you're listening on radio, 95.1, 95.3, if you are viewing the live stream on Facebook or YouTube, or you are listening via radio, thanks so much for powering up, yeah? Not forgetting those of you via the Power app, good of you to join us. We got so much to talk about this morning. Hold on, I'm trying to find my live stream. Where is it? There we go. Who's here with me this morning? Good morning, Shante. Morning time. Good morning, Carol Belfon on YouTube. Yeah, shout out to all the YouTubers again. Vanessa St. John, welcome inside the room. Mary and Frederick. Who else is here? Hold on. Rachel Boateng. Shauna Dakota, happy Wednesday. Valerie Ross, Kadisha Williams on YouTube, Nesta Charles, Jenny Charles Gilbert, Trisha Franklin, Roxanne Scott. Thank you, Shante. Sheen. Jackie Chaiton, Eddie, what up, a long time. Lisa St. Jude's Batiste, J. Douglas Adams, she's still here? Oh, why not did she? Kimberly Fontaine, Eva James, good morning. Hey, she's still here? Naya, good morning. Rhonda Joseph, good morning. Wants to be 106 block. Right now, closed for stock taking. The business take off faster than I thought. So right now we have some taking. So once they're done, I'll let you guys know. But all for now, we close for stop taking. Thanks, Roxanne. Shawnee, good morning. All done on barbecue after work this Friday. 38. What? We can't see good now. Oh, 381 East 52nd. Okay. Magdalene Chateau, Slim Map. Big up yourself, Tommy Pascal. Big up yourself, Della Fletcher. And everybody on the plantation. And of course, with me right now, Christelle Richards, Janelle Mitchell, Cyrus, Lena Williams, Jenilyn Andel Lewis. Who else is here? When business resume? Yeah, so right now, close for stock taking. So they gotta work with me. Come on in quickly, guys. Good morning, Drea. Happy Wednesday. Hope everybody's doing good. All the parents and guardians in the room. Hope you got your children uniforms and they're back to school gear and they're ready. I heard they were supposed to have a press briefing. GOT, did they? Because I was looking on the GOT page and I didn't see anything. If anybody bounce up on it, let me know, please, so I can go back and listen to what the argument is about their school reopening on the 31st as opposed to September. So y'all check in and let me know. Hey, Peter Joseph. Yes, so you had a whole other live happening inside the live yesterday with somebody battle with somebody, man business. We're gonna talk about that next week. Let me just deal with serious business this week. I saw a matter of fact, somebody sent me the screenshot and asked me if I didn't see this happening. And I'm like, no, like when I'm in my zone and I'm talking, it's hard to talk and pay attention to the comments at the same time. So here they had some lady and somebody in Cherry Hill, husband, a wife. Hey. Anyways, to get back to the substantive post or conversation this morning. So I came across this yesterday on social media and it sparked a bit of conversation. Hold on, let me pull it up. So I posted it on my page and it basically was, hold on, let's see right. So it basically was came from a guy, I don't know him, and he says, respect yourself. Apparently he was responding to a post where someone says, rape is caused by rapists, not skirts, not alcohol, not excuses. And his response was, respect yourself. I hate this mindset. Girls act like they don't know what temptation is. If you got your boobs and whatever else out there, you should know there are some whatever out here with no morals and you're drawing their attention. Cover yourself if you don't want attention and know all attention is not good. Rape is not acceptable, but neither is public indecency. And there are sometimes some things you see on social media that makes you stop scrolling. And that's how I felt when I saw that one yesterday. That's how I felt when I saw it yesterday. Morning, Mel. Thanks, Christelle. Debbie Crody. You're doing the most, Papa. Anyways, let me get back to the business that paying me. So, sometimes there are things that, you see things on social media and it makes you stop scrolling. And not because I was shocked, not because I was surprised, but because sometimes you read something and think, did we just say that? Did this person really just say that? And this particular post has me heated because the original post, like I said, says essentially that women need to cover themselves because there are horny freaks out there with no morals. And if you have your boobs and your butt exposed, you are drawing attention to yourself. That part, if it wasn't enough to aggravate my spirit, then came someone under the post that I posted, a female, mind you, who said, as a woman myself, most of you are missing the point. And she goes to make the comparison between sexual assault and robbery. Listen, her argument is yes, rapists are responsible, but women can take preventative measures. If you are wearing less clothing, you're supposedly making yourself more likely to be assaulted. Just like somebody wearing expensive jewelry and flashing an expensive phone is supposedly more likely to get robbed. And she says, two things can be true at the same time. Okay, so two things can absolutely be true at the same time. There's no disputing that. Totally agree that two things can be true at the same time. But we have to make sure the two things that we're putting together actually belong together. When we used to watch Sesame Street and they used to sing the song, two of these things belong together, one, da, 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 da. When Honey and Butter and them and Big Bird used to be singing, they used to have some part, and I remember that vividly from my childhood. Two of these things belong together and something don't. And you had to figure out which one. We have to make sure the two things that we're putting together actually belong together. Because someone telling somebody to take precautions is one thing. Telling women that their clothing is part of the reason somebody raped them is something entirely different. And I refuse to accept that we should keep putting the responsibility for men's behavior on women's shoulders. Case in point, and I meant to have this conversation since last week, and it reminds me of that song that Sour Serpent did and won a crown with, basically telling women that they should remove their female parts, and that way we would not get molested. No, I love Sour Serpent. I love his songs. His songs are always, gives you a lot to think about. It's, he sings good calypsos, but for some reason that one didn't sit too well with me, because why should I need to remove my private part for a man not to touch me, to control his urges and control himself? So I have to do without my female part so a man would behave himself. I kind of get what he was trying to say, but at the same time, this is what I'm hearing. This sort of makes what this poster is saying. A lot of men actually feel that way. A lot of people actually feel that way. A lot of women actually feel that way as well. That because you dress in a particular manner, you're provocative, you're too sexy with your dressing, you're calling rape on yourself. I refuse to accept in 2026 that we should keep putting the responsibility for men's behavior on women's shoulders. Because apparently, when it comes to sexual violence, women are expected to carry a checklist. Yeah? Women are expected to carry a checklist. Cover your body. Don't drink too much. Don't walk alone. Don't go to his house. Don't invite him over. Don't flirt. Don't dance too provocatively. Don't post certain pictures. Don't wear that dress. Don't be too friendly. Don't be too trusting. Don't get into that car. Don't stay out too late. Don't make eye contact. Don't give him the wrong idea. Don't be too sexual. Don't be too attractive. Don't be too drunk. Don't be too sober. Don't be too independent. Don't be too vulnerable. Don't be in the wrong place. Don't trust the wrong person. Like, don't for women. And somehow, after all these rules, we still end up having to explain to women, well, you should have known better. At what point do we stop teaching women how not to be raped and start teaching people not to rape? At what point, let me ask it again. At what point do we stop teaching women how not to be raped and start teaching people not to rape? That is the conversation I want to have. We tell women to protect themselves from men, but who is protecting women from the men who refuse to control themselves? And let me be very clear, because I know y'all always go left when a conversation is going right. I am not saying women should never take precautions. I am not saying that. Of course, we should. I don't know anybody who would deliberately put themselves in a dangerous situation if they knew there was a safer alternative. If I'm walking somewhere at night and I have the choice between a dark, isolated road and a well-lit, populated street, I'm taking the populated street. If I'm at a party and somebody is behaving aggressively, I'm removing myself from that situation. If I don't know somebody, I'm going to exercise caution. That is common sense. But exercising caution does not mean accepting responsibility for another person's criminal behavior. So when you tell me I have to remove my female part so for a man not to sexually assault me, exercising caution does not mean accepting responsibility for another person's criminal behavior. Those are two very different things. And this is where I have a problem with the robbery analogy that this lady responded under my post with. She said, if I'm flashing all my gold jewelry and expensive phone and my friend is dressed plainly and wearing minimal jewelry, who is more likely to get robbed? Okay, so let's unpack that. If you walk through a neighborhood or you're just walking the street waving a $1,000 phone in the air, wearing expensive jewelry, and somebody sees an opportunity and steals from you, the person who stole your belongings committed the crime. We can have a conversation about risk. We can say maybe don't advertise your valuables in an environment where theft is common. Fine. But here's the problem. A woman is not an iPhone. Her breasts are not a Rolex. Her butt is not a gold chain. Her body is not a piece of merchandise that somebody sees and decides to steal. And most importantly, sexual assault is not simply an opportunistic crime against a visible object. The person has to make a decision. They have to choose to violate another human being, and that decision belongs to them. And to the lady who made that comment, you know what makes that robbery analogy even weaker? The fact that people get raped wearing jeans, people get raped wearing sweatpants, women get raped wearing school uniforms, people get raped wearing pajamas, people get raped wearing long dresses, people get raped wearing modest clothing, People get raped in their homes. You're in your home minding your business. You're not walking the road flashing anything in your home. So you're trying to tell me I'm supposed to put on a long dress inside my own place, outside hot 100 degrees weather. I'm supposed to be inside my house where I would think I'm the safest or free up myself. And to appease or to prevent myself from being sexually assaulted. People get sexually molested in their homes. They get it in relationships. They get raped by people they trust, acquaintances, partners, family members, children get raped, babies get raped, elderly people get raped. We heard the news of the elderly lady who was in a home, 80s, minding her business. So how are we defending and still trying to put the responsibility on us as women and coming from another woman? Listen, if you've never been in a position where somebody made unwanted advances on you or you were taken against your will, you will never understand how it feels. It's something that stays with you for life. It's something that stays with you. So when I see people brushing it off and trying to sound, to the understanding, there are days you can be understanding. We was understanding of, what's his name the other day with Kimberly. We are not about to be understanding of nothing when it comes to sexual assault, rape. People who aren't even, something you may call them, not even sexually attractive to the perpetrator gets raped. People who aren't wearing revealing clothes get raped. So when we say, well, if you dress more decently, you can prevent it, we have to ask ourselves, prevent what? Because if clothing were the cause, then changing the clothing should dramatically eliminate sexual violence. And that's not what we see. The problem isn't that women have bodies. The problem is that some people believe they are entitled to access those bodies without consent. That's the issue. And I want us to sit with the word consent for a minute, because consent is not determined by a skirt. It is not determined by cleavage. It is not determined by a woman dancing. It is not determined by whether she went to his house. It is not determined by whether she kissed him. It is not determined by whether she had sex with him before. It is not determined by whether she flirted with him, whether she posted a sexy picture. It is not determined by whether she was drunk, whether she is married to him. Consent is consent. And if somebody says no, they have said no. If somebody cannot consent, they cannot consent. If somebody withdraws consent, consent has been withdrawn. And if somebody is a child, then of all this conversation, about whether the child's clothing somehow contributed to the situation needs to go straight out the window. Because a child is not responsible for managing an adult's sexual impulses. And that brings me to something else. Why is it that when women are victims, we immediately start investigating them? What were you wearing? Where were you? Who were you with? How much did you drink? Why did you get there? Why did you trust him? Why did you get in his car? Why did you stay? Why didn't you leave? Why didn't you scream? Why didn't you fight? Why didn't you report it immediately? Why didn't you tell anybody? Why didn't you do this? Why didn't you do that? Why were you smiling in the picture? Why you look happy? Why you invite only? Why you dress like that? Why? Meanwhile, the perpetrator is standing there with one question. One question we give the perpetrator. Why did you do it? And then we ask women a whole laundry list of whys. But the perpetrator gets only one. Why did you do it? Somehow, that question, even that question becomes secondary. And that is the part that bothers me. We have become so accustomed to interrogating victims that sometimes we forget who actually made the decision. And I'm not saying we shouldn't teach women, we shouldn't teach people about safety. We absolutely should. Teach young women how to recognize dangerous situations. Teach young men about consent. Teach children about inappropriate touching. Teach people about boundaries, about sexual predators, about grooming. Teach people how alcohol can impair judgment. And that is another big one that we have to spend a whole day on. The amount of alcohol consumption by both men and women on this rock is ridiculous. But I digress. We have to teach people, yes, how to protect themselves. We have to teach people how to leave unsafe situations. Teach everybody. But don't turn safety education into victim responsibility. Because those are not the same thing. And here's another thing. The original post also said, rape isn't acceptable, but public indecency isn't acceptable either. Okay. That's a separate conversation. That's a separate conversation. If somebody is actually committing public indecency, then talk about public indecency. There are laws and social standards governing public behavior. But let's not sneak sexual violence into that conversation and suggest that the two are somehow morally equivalent. A woman wearing a short skirt isn't committing sexual assault. A man staring at her isn't committing sexual assault. A woman showing cleavage isn't committing sexual assault. A person posting a provocative photograph isn't committing sexual assault. A person can be dressed in a way you personally don't like. You can think it's inappropriate. You can think it's too revealing. You can think it's vulgar. You can think it's not how you would dress. Fine. That is your opinion. But none of those opinions create entitlement to another person's body. And I think this is where we need to separate morality, preference, and criminality. We can sit here and have a moral opinion about how somebody dresses till the cows come home. We can all do that. You can have a personal preference about modesty. You can raise your children according to your values. You can say, I would never wear that. Nobody's taking that away from you. But the moment we move from I don't like the way she dresses to therefore she should expect sexual attention, we're crossing lines. Sexual attention and sexual violence are not the same thing. It's not. And let's talk about men for a moment, yeah? Because I don't believe most men are incapable of controlling themselves. That is not the case. Not all men sexually assault women. So it's not an all men situation. They are men with control. They would see somebody and boy, the eyes would pop out of their head. They would lust, but they would not make any unwanted advances. Yeah? I don't believe a man's eyes are connected to his hands in such a way that if he sees cleavage, he loses control. I don't believe men are animals who simply see a woman's body and become incapable of making rational decisions. Men are human beings. Men have brains. Men have self-control. Men also have morals. Men know right from wrong. And the vast majority of men understand that seeing something they find attractive does not give them permission to touch it. You can find somebody incredibly attractive and keep your hands to yourself. You can be sexually attracted to somebody and respect their boundaries. You can be turned on and still behave like a decent human being. That is called self-control. And if we keep telling men, well, what do you expect? Look at what she was wearing. We are actually insulting men. Because what we're saying is, men are so primitive that women must dress differently or decently in order for men to behave. No, I reject that. They know better. And I expect better. And I expect better from women too. And not because Women should carry the burden of preventing men's crimes, but because all of us have a responsibility to respect other human beings. Now, somebody might say, but Aruna, John, come in. Feel you'll get the food today? Listen, don't play with my feelings today, please. Miss Yvette, talk to your son, please. The minute I glance up, the first thing I see, Aruna, I feel you'll get the food today. Don't, John, I'm blocking you today if I don't get food. Anyways, as I was saying, so somebody might jump up and say, Aruna, you're missing the point. I'm challenging the framing because you're missing the point. She's simply saying women should take precautions. I'm sure somebody would say, hold on, let me go and let me see the menu. The only thing to distract me is food, eh? Let me go and see what they on the menu there. I'm sure I saw that somewhere. Okay, I'll go and look for it. Let me see what they are there. Yeah, so somebody might say, I'm missing the point. And she's simply saying women should take precautions. Nope, I'm not missing the point at all. I'm challenging the framing because words matter. If you're telling a woman, cover yourself because men are honey goats and you don't know what they might do, you are not merely giving her a safety tip. You are teaching her that her body creates a danger that she's responsible for managing. And that becomes dangerous psychologically because eventually a victim starts thinking, maybe it was my fault. Maybe I shouldn't have worn that. Maybe I shouldn't have gone there. Maybe I shouldn't have trusted him because I caused this. And that's exactly the kind of shame that keeps victims silent. And silence protects perpetrators. Let's think about the young girl who gets raped. She's wearing a school uniform. What did she do wrong? The woman assaulted in her own home, that elderly lady in her 80s at home. Imagine having to deal with being raped in your 80s. You lived all of your life. You're in your twilight years, trying to make the most of it, trying to, make your way right with the Lord. And then you have to deal with being sexually. And then we're still talking about women are to blame, and women this, women that. Come on. The elderly woman assaulted. What did she do wrong? A child being groomed by someone she trusted. What did she do wrong? A person who probably drank too much. A person that was assaulted while unconscious. What did they do wrong? At some point, our explanation has to stop being about the victim and it has to become about the perpetrator. Rape is caused by someone choosing to rape. That's the sentence. It's not complicated. Rape is caused by rapists. Not skirts, not alcohol, not lipstick, not dancing, not social media, not women's bodies. Rapists. I can argue that alcohol creates vulnerability. Of course it can. Does being alone in an unfamiliar place create risk? Yes. Does flashing expensive jewelry, like the person who responded to my post alluded to, create a greater opportunity for theft? Potentially. Does dressing in certain ways attract more attention? Absolutely. But here's the distinction. Something can increase attention without causing criminal behavior. And that's the piece people keep missing. If I walk into a room wearing something flashy, maybe people look at me more. That's attention. If somebody decides to assault me because of what I'm wearing, that's a choice they made. Again, attention is not consent. Attraction is not consent. Opportunity is not consent. Vulnerability is not consent. We need to stop confusing those things. And I need to say something else that bothered me about this entire conversation. I mentioned it before and I want to mention it again for those of you just coming in the room. Why is the preventative advice always directed at women? Why aren't we having conversation with boys from the time they're young? Don't touch without permission. No means no. Don't pressure someone. Don't exploit somebody who is drunk. Don't take advantage of someone who is unconscious. Don't send requests or send a request urgent images from mine, request sexual images from minors. Don't threaten someone into sexual activity. Don't use your power of position to manipulate someone. Don't confuse flirting with consent. Don't confuse a relationship with ownership. Why aren't we putting that same energy into teaching boys and men? And before somebody say boys need to protect themselves too, yes, that is, they absolutely do. Male victims deserve to be believed as well. Male victims deserve support. Boys deserve protection. Yes, men can be raped too. Men can be sexually assaulted. I'm not sure how many of you are seeing what's happening with transgender. What's the me even feel to call you. Anywho's Sydney Starr, who was born a man and had whatever surgeries and now transgender, is accused of sodomy, sexual molestation or something like that of a 13-year-old boy, and was denied bail. I'm not too sure many of you know Sydney Starr. On those what you call them thing? Love and hip hop. You'd be on them reality reality shows, popular transgender. So male victims also can be men can also be sexually assaulted. Men can be raped, men can be sexually assaulted, men can be victims. Sexual violence does not become less serious because the victim is a male. And that actually proves the point, because if we understand that men can be victims regardless of what they're wearing, then we should be able to understand the same principle applies to women. Not so? Men who are sexually molested, you don't see them walking with their chest out, no boobs out, no butt out. Most of the time they're wearing decent clothing, t-shirt, shirt, long pants, short pants. Not, unless you're on the beach somewhere, you might see a man in a bathing trunks or short pants or whatever the case might be. So how come we can apply that same principle? If men can be victims regardless of what they're wearing, then we should be able to understand the same principle applies to women. This isn't a women's issue. This is a human issue. And here's where I want to challenge the woman who commented. Two things can be true at the same time, but let's make sure we don't use that phrase to excuse victim blaming. Two things can be true. A woman can make a choice that increases her vulnerability, and a rapist is still completely responsible for choosing to rape her. A person can drink alcohol and they can still be sexually assaulted. A woman can wear a short skirt and she can still expect to be left alone. A woman can flirt and she can still say no. A woman can go home with a man and she can still withdraw consent. A woman can have sex with somebody yesterday and say no today. Two things can absolutely be true, but one truth should never be used to erase the other. And I think that is where we've gone wrong, because we have become obsessed with prevention to the point where we sometimes forget accountability. We're telling women every single day how to avoid predators instead of asking why predators continue to feel comfortable operating. We're telling women to carry pepper spray, carry keys, tell women to text their friends when they get home. We tell women share their location, to check the back seat, not to walk alone, not to drink too much, not to wear certain clothes, not to trust strangers. And some of those are sensible safety measures. But what are we telling the predator? What are we telling the man who is thinking about violating somebody? What are we telling the person who believes a drunk woman is an opportunity? What are we telling the person who thinks no means try harder? Yeah? What are we telling the person who believes being somebody's boyfriend gives them unlimited access? My light gone off. What are we telling the persons who think no means try harder? If all our prevention strategies are aimed at the potential victim, we have created a society where the victim has to build a fortress around herself while the predator walks around freely. And I don't accept that. I don't have to remove my private part to appease no man. According to Sower Serpent, I should not have to do that. So instead of dealing with, how come you didn't say, let me remove the man and them part? Why you want to remove our part? Huh? How come you never tell the man if all you continue to sexually molest, we'll lobby for all your private part to be removed? How is we? Always we. We. Everything is we. You know, it's a woman, women. Why we have to take out our parts? Why not remove the part of the predator? So I don't do you not I hear minding my business in my home. You decide to climb through a window, break open a door or something, come inside my place, molest me, and then I have to remove my part. Why not remove the part of the person who did the crime? Why we have to take off our parts? If all our prevention strategies are aimed at the potential victim, we have created a society where we as women have to build a fortress around ourselves while these predators walk around freely. And I don't accept that. I want us to be safe. I want women to be safe. But I don't want women's freedom to be the price we pay for men's lack of self-control. No girl should grow up believing their bodies are dangerous. I don't want young women believing that they have to make themselves smaller, quieter, and less visible because somebody else might behave badly. And I certainly don't want boys growing up believing that their sexuality is uncontrollable. And I don't want victims sitting in therapy wondering whether their clothing caused what happened to them, because it didn't. The person who violated them caused what happened. And let me say this too. There's nothing wrong with teaching modesty if that's your personal or family value. There's nothing wrong with saying, I don't like revealing clothing. There's nothing wrong with saying, I want my daughter to dress a certain way. There's nothing wrong with saying, I don't feel comfortable wearing that. But there is something wrong when we take a personal standard and turn it into a justification for somebody else's criminal behavior. That's the line. And I think we need to be courageous enough to draw it, because sometimes people say things in the name of protecting women that actually place more pressure on women. Cover yourself. Don't attract attention. Don't tempt man. Don't make yourself a target. Women are not responsible for managing every man's eyes, thoughts, impulses, and decisions. We are responsible for ourselves. Men are responsible for themselves. Women are responsible for themselves. And when somebody crosses the line and commits a crime, the person who commits the crime carries the responsibility, period. So yes, ladies, be careful, be aware, protect yourselves, trust your instincts, don't ignore the red flags, get out of dangerous situations, look after your friends, look after your daughters, teach your sons, teach your daughters, teach everybody about consent, but don't confuse caution with blame. Because there's a massive difference between taking precautions because the world contains dangerous people and saying you should have dressed differently, therefore you contributed to what happened. These are not the same message. One empowers you, the other burdens you. And to the person who keeps saying, the people who keep saying, well, she didn't want attention, why did she dress like that? My response is simple. Maybe she wanted attention, maybe she wanted compliments, maybe she wanted to feel beautiful, maybe she liked the outfit, maybe she wanted to dance, maybe she wanted to post a picture, maybe she wanted to feel sexy, maybe she wanted absolutely none of your attention. But none of these possibilities gives you permission to violate her. You don't get to decide what happens to another person's body based on how attractive you find them. And that is the message that I want us to hear today. Your body belongs to you. Your choices belong to you. That's it. I'm done. John, let me talk about the food. I'm coming offline now. And I think I need a cold malt after that session right now. I just feel my energy go down. Need to pick it up. That's all the time we have today, friends. We'll be back tomorrow, same time, same place, 11 a.m. in the forenoon. Thank you so much, St. Augustine Medical Services. Thank you so much, Land Store. Don't forget the VAT Days and Western Union for making the room possible. To everybody that's here, chimed in, part of the conversation, thank you so very much. And I shall see you guys again tomorrow. You can still continue while we cut off. You can still continue to have the conversation. Yeah? But thank you so much for your time. And I'll see you guys tomorrow again for another show.
No play, one day you go pay the price.
All right, Sunset City. Will do.
Lie.